Hello there. Welcome to whatever we're calling this show. Hello there. Welcome back to SiDEQUEST, dear viewer. Now, today we're doing something a little different. Again, I guess it's been a theme couple of these past episodes. Not really talking about a in-universe topic, but something of a response to something a Star Wars actor said recently. Namely, Liam Neeson has come and said something along the lines of that he thinks that the volume of Star Wars spin-offs is quote-unquote diluting the mystery and magic of the franchise. Now, that's a bold statement, one I can agree and disagree with in some aspects, but I'll let you guys go first. Theogek or Arctrain, what do you guys think about that?
Well, I mean, I'm of the opinion that anything that better explains the universe, at least for me, is a good thing. I don't think you can get too lost in the minutiae of detail that's possible for every conceivable subject, from the Millennium Falcon all the way down to a hand blaster. But I can see his point. You know, it's like I'll give you an example real quick. When I was teaching, at the end of class, I would post this is project management I was teaching, and I would post a question based on an actual project that I had been the project manager or I took over for. And it was you got graded on your level of discussion and what kind of documents you could put together in a few minutes. And it always was very lively. People, lots of reviews. They said it was the best part of the class, one of the best part of all the classes, because it was like a certificate program that you were going through. They loved it. And then one night, I don't know why, I explained the situation in more detail, and it ruined it. It just completely ruined it. Like I guess the interest in the imagination on the part of the students was lost, because I had explained what steps I had taken in the beginning. They still had to do the work for the final part, but I felt compelled some reason for that night to tell them the steps that I had taken in the beginning, and it completely ruined it. So I guess I can see both points. I can see where if things are left to ponder about, we'll create our own greater mystery and magic in our heads than they can do in Hollywood. So yeah, I'm on the fence on that one.
Very well put, very eloquently said. Triton, what about you? Do you have any thoughts, or?
So, when did he say that? I guess is a good question. When did he say
this week?
I think that's a little terse, because number one, you know, at what point did he become part of the spinoff, right? So, you know, Star Wars has been around for 30 something plus years. When he takes the scene, and then all of a sudden Qui-Gon, and you know how many years have gone by since then, up until like you were a part of spinoff, man. You did the Clone Wars, you were in the show, you know. So like to say that's kind of like because your stuff is fading away and there's more like stuff that's being center focused on, you know, other expansive parts of the universe. But that's the beauty behind Star Wars, and I think that's why George at the end of the day did sell it for a partial reason, is he gave it over to somebody that could just, you know, expand it to its maximum. That's it. That's the universe at large. It's supposed to grow. People are supposed to take it and make it theirs and reshape it and like define it and, you know, calculate it and all this kind of stuff. And I love that. I think that, but I get it. Like the magic, right? You know, and how we understand, like, you know, oh my gosh, like there might be a grander universe, and they're like alien ships, and like, but does that necessarily take away from the magic of it, or does it take away from the magic of the cinema? I think it takes away from the magic of the cinema, not necessarily the magic of the entirety of reality that could be, or is, and all that kind of stuff. I think that's still there to ponder about. Like, you're talking about supernatural encounters, like that's some far out there kind of what you like say whack, like that is whack. It is whack stuff, and that's total magic. And I just think that he's sad that the world is moving on, and I feel that every day. I drive past little places that I grew up, and it's not the same anymore, and stuff's growing up there that I wouldn't even want it to be there, and I have no say in it, and so it makes me bitter to a degree. And I think he might have said, I don't know, I'd love to see the further context of what he said or when he said that. So anyway,
looking that up now.
By all means. While you do that, I guess I'll just give my 2 cents. As a massive expanded universe nerd, my gut reaction is no. What? How could adding more of something dilute the magic? But it does depend on what he's saying, because like there is a element to for example, media doesn't need to stand on its own. It can't have ancillary things that change to make it good. Because, for example, one of the biggest recently there's been a lot of, I'm not sure if I'd call it revisionism, but looking back with rose-tinted glasses, a lot of people a little bit older than me who grew up alongside the prequels who say that they're just straight up great films. For the longest time, that has not been the consensus. But so what I'm trying to say is, a lot of people said that, for example, the Clone Wars TV show, or earlier than that, the Clone Wars multimedia project, which is better, they say that quote-unquote fixes the prequels. Oh, it shows, Anakin's slow steps to the dark side better. It quote-unquote fixes the prequels, when you can't use ancillary media as a crutch. If a story can't be beholden to have to use extra stuff to make it a cohesive or good story. However, I have no issue whatsoever with ancillary media expanding upon things that didn't need to be elaborated upon in the original story, or otherwise just adding flavor to the, I guess what people call fluff of the setting at large. Like, for the purposes of the first Star Wars film, it doesn't matter what the cantina is called. It's just the cantina in Mos Eisley. Whereas if you go into the lore, there's all this stuff. Okay, it was Chalmun's cantina, owned by a Wookiee. There was lots of shady stuff going on there, and there's. I love the thing that drew me to Star Wars, besides, fantastic films on their own and whatever, but it is the setting that made me truly fall in love with it, because everything has some sort of explanation. Every background character has a name. Every single, and I see people post about, lol, it's so haha, Expanded Universe is dumb. Lol, why do you need to have a name for the band in the cantina? That's, who cares about that? They're figuring down in the modal nodes. I like that. I don't know. I find it fun. It's the same reason that there is a Grant Morrison is a very respected writer for good reason. if you don't know who that is, writes for DC Comics and stuff. But he has a quote, something along the lines of, I found it, here we go. Kids understand that real crabs don't sing like the ones in The Little Mermaid, but you give an adult fiction, and the adult starts asking really effing dumb questions like, how does Superman fly? How do those I-beam works? Who pumps the Batmobile's tires? It's a effing made-up story, you idiots. Nobody pumps the tires. My counter-argument to that is very simple. It's fun to come up with explanations for that kind of thing. To me, half the fun in the lore-oriented parts of fandoms like Star Wars, Halo, whatever, is coming up and rationalizing seemingly nonsensical parts in their stories, or just making connections, or otherwise just expanding the universe. That's my thoughts on that front. But now, I guess there's another way to read his statement, and because he says,
what's the full content?
If he's referring to spin-off content in terms of just shows in general.
Okay. Well. Okay.
Oh, so
we'll talk about. No. I'm going to ask your opinion, and then Hal's too. It's my turn to be the moderator. I love this. I'm in the seat power. Feels good to be in the moderator position.
Limited power.
Okay, so then, got me laughing so hard I forgot what I was going to ask you. Thanks.
Okay, you're in the moderator. Yeah. Go on.
Man, I experienced real joy, because that was real humor, and now I've forgotten what I was going to ask. Okay, I give it back.
Sure.
Well, in context of what was said in the quote, he said it in response to a question from Andy Cohen on Andy Cohen's show, saying, would you like to head a spin-off? Since all these different shows are coming along, and he said, no, I'm not. There's so many spin-offs of Star Wars, it's diluting to me, and it's taking away the mystery and magic in a weird way. That's the actual quote.
Okay. So it seems he's not referring to just expanded universe stuff. He means shows and side movies and whatever. I guess what they called the anthology stuff when Disney first took over.
Yeah.
In that, okay, since he's referring to that, I see where he's coming from, but to me what really matters is just the quality of the series itself. Mandalorian and Andor were phenomenal. I can't praise them enough. But I guess there is within settings, there are mysteries that should be left as mysteries. For example, I think we keep turning to Halo every once in a while. Maybe we should start a Halo podcast. I think that unveiling some of the mysteries of the Forerunners, for example, was a massive mistake. They should have been left as a mystery. I know a lot of people like Greg Bear's books. Rest in peace. He died recently, sadly. But and he's a great writer. But it doesn't. I mean, it adds to the setting, but it doesn't. In a sense of just the sheer gravitas of having these mysteries that will never be known. It just added something to the setting that can't really be replicated. Now, in the case of Star Wars, I don't know. Maybe he's talking about because he was briefly involved in the Kenobi series where he appeared as a Force ghost. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he found it more interesting to have Obi-Wan's years in exile left as for the audience's mind.
But are they total mystery? Because there's the books, remember?
I'm well aware, but 90% of the audience of Star Wars. Let's be real here. Like, at least 90. But
well, sure, we're gonna see it. Come on. I mean, maybe it won't be him, but it'll be some kind of, either animated series or revived, because it was perfect timing for him to play that role for the show, right? That was perfect timing. His age. Yeah, it was perfect timing.
Yes. But, well, I mean, okay. Technically it would have been more around 2015, but, because if you go 10 years, 19 to 0. But, yes, no, but I guess by age in that case, yes. Although, then there's the question of, because people used to say, wow, the two sons really did a number to turn Ewan McGregor into Alec Guinness, and now it's more like, okay, instead of in 20 years, it took 10 years from going from that to that. Like, geez, poor guy, he needs some sunscreen.
How would you pronounce his first name?
Ewan. It's Scottish.
Just say it with the full for the audience.
Ewan.
I want to hear.
Ewan McGregor.
What do you think that means in Old English?
It's the equivalent of Evan, isn't it? But the I don't know the etymology to what it means.
Sounds like something like Tolkien would say, or name a character.
Oh, absolutely. No, Tolkien loved that. See, that's a sort of kinship I feel with it. Like, I love that. You know what? I'm going on Wiktionary right now. Ewan from Scottish Gaelic. Well, okay, I'm going to totally mispronounce it, but Eoghan. Something U-born. So something. It has to do with the yew tree. Interesting.
Like yew-bow, like the stuff that the Welsh made their bows out of.
Yeah.
So something along the lines of survivability. Definitely, as an actor, he's very. It seemed like he was calm. I read an interview about him, I guess I read it. Yeah. Anyway, read about an interview with him in which he basically eloped for 3 weeks, left the guy hanging. The reporter sitting there talking to him 1 minute, and then he disappears for 3 weeks, and then he calls him on a Skype call and says, "Oh, it's been bloody hell," something like that. He got COVID. The whole house got COVID. So in the middle of talking with this guy, got COVID, and this whole house got COVID. Anyway, but the rest of the conversation was very charming, I guess to say the.
Oh, he's a personality for sure. I love that. I'll put it up on screen after this. Just the one of him going "We're looking at sea otters," and then it just zooms in.
Ewan, what are we looking at here?
We're looking at sea otters. 6 of them here. And they were in front of us, and they were just following them now, slowly. They're beautiful. They go down to the bottom, they get a stone, and they go down to the bottom, they get a seashell, and then like a clam or something like that, and they come back up, and they roll on their backs, and then they smash the shell with the stone like that, and then eat the mussel or whatever is inside. Go down for another one with a stone. It's cool, isn't it?
Just the way he says it he's so excited. It's funny. But no, he was perfect casting for young
Obi-Wan. Yes. He said he was a honor too to have Sir
Alec Guinness.
Guinness, right?
Yeah. And you could see the devotion he had, of him studying Alec's mannerisms and stuff, the little mustache twirl. The little. There's a lot of nuance. I can't praise enough. I use that phrase a lot. I can't praise blank enough. Well, there's one of my mannerisms. Whoever it's gonna be playing me in 30 years. I don't know.
Well, it does raise. I mean, it is indirect or indirect. I think, from what I remember of Return of the Jedi, in contrast to what we are seeing now, because the way it was laid out in A New Hope was that, as I understood it, and I think so many people did, was that Obi-Wan left that world and went and hid in this cave on Tatooine and took care of his own business for X years, waiting for Luke to grow up, and never did get re-involved with Vader or travel to other planets or do any of these things like that. It kind of leads me to wonder if some of that dialogue that's talked about is still valid in terms of now that there's a show with Obi-Wan Kenobi in it. Ewan McGregor did say, not Ewan McGregor, Liam Neeson did say he was honored and loved being the Force Ghost when they asked him back a couple minute spot. He said he loved that. So,
yeah. No, so I don't think, Train, to your original point, I don't think he's bitter about anything in that sense. I think it feels more like he also probably preferred having some things best left to imagination, which is a view I can see, not exactly one I agree with, but I guess.
Well, the line about the midichlorians is a very controversial subject. So, actually, I think that I would agree with you. I would really actually like to know his mind. Dare to say I might even write him. Just you never know. I've been so encouraged. I've been listening to all these, directors and stuff, and all the success they've had. And a lot of it's just they go out on a limb to just ask a question. And so I think that that's a great encouragement to our little group, and then to the audience as well. If you guys ever want something in life, just go out and ask for it. And that's it. Like, you'll never know unless you just go ask. If you ask, then you've got a 50% chance that somebody will say yes, and then you have 50% chance somebody will say no. Go with 50% yes. But no, I think we should ask him and see what he says. You never know. He might even want to show up on the podcast. You don't know.
That might be a bit far-fetched, but you never know.
You never know. People will shock you.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not on the scale of, like, Hollywood actors like that, but I've come into contact with some people I've thought there'd be no way to get a lot, like, well, okay, this is a little different because it was an actual Hollywood actor, but usually at a convention, it's you who goes up to actors or writers or whatever. But last year, it was at AwesomeCon in Washington, D.C. For those who don't know, I'm part of the Mandalorian Mercs costume group. So actually, I met John Morton, who is Dak Ralter, aka Luke's co-pilot from Empire Strikes Back. And he was also, since he was exactly also Jeremy Bullock's height, he was also Boba Fett for a handful of reshoot scenes. So, and he came up to us and said, your armor is great. And I'm like, oh, thank you! So, coming from probably like the third person to ever wear a Mandalorian armor, because I guess the original test footage would have been Joe Johnston, I guess, who was the designer of them, and then Jeremy himself, and I guess him. So,
did you know the story behind what that was? The original concept was they were supposed to be either white, or maybe that was just the plastic that they were molded out of. But either way,
nope, they were meant to be Imperial super troopers. The super command. It's interesting how no, I've seen a lot of footage. I'll put that up on screen. Well, of course there was the original concept art and the footage, but yeah, no, the Boba and or a unit of them were supposed to be all white to match the stormtroopers, and
but didn't it cost him much?
it wasn't that. No, they produced it in all white. As you'll see in the footage I put up here.
Like they wanted 100, like the original script called 100 of them.
You know what? Now that you say it, that does ring a bell.
So it became like, well, what do we do with this one suit that we have?
Right.
And so they're like,
to a Clint Eastwood type.
Yes.
And see, that's one of the things I find fascinating about filmmaking or any sort of production is, what do you do when something goes wrong? You can make it even more interesting at times. George was never able to make his Super Troopers. Well, turn him into a bounty hunter. I love that. But alas, we are running low on time. Is anything else on you guys' mind? Alrighty then. In that case, thank you, dear viewers, for joining us. And may the Force be with you, always.